Hello and welcome back to a news channel. Students, today we are going to talk about something you have probably used every day without thinking twice about it. It sits quietly near your bathroom sink and it's your first line of defense against dirt, bad smells, and even dangerous germs. Yes, I'm talking about soap. Have you ever wondered how soap actually works? Why does it clean our hands? How does it destroy germs and make us smell better? And did you know that it actually started over 5,000 years ago in ancient Babylon? Well, buckle up because over the next few minutes, we are going on a journey through chemistry, history, and hygiene. And at the end of today's episode, we are also uh, going to give you a peek into something you might not hear often, a disease called pulmonary hypertension. Okay. And what it is, how it actually affects the lungs, and why it's important to catch it early. So, we're going to understand all about it. Right? So ready? Let's begin. Now, students, thousands of years ago, people one using fancy hand wash with lemon scent and foam. Okay. But even our ancient ancestors knew that getting rid of dirt was important. And one day, whether by accident or, through clever observation, they discovered something amazing. So, legend has it that someone cooking meat let the fat drip into leftover ashes from a fire. Okay. The result? Of course, a gooey substance that strangely cleaned things. And that gooey substance was, in its earliest form, soap. Okay? तो ऐसे तो शुरुआत हुई थी सोप की. Historical records also shows that around 2800, okay, 2800 BCE, that's about uh, 5,000 years ago, people in Babylon, okay, people in Babylon, which is modern day Iraq, were already making soap. So they mixed animal fat with wood ash to create a rough version of what we use today. So as centuries passed, soap evolved. And by the 1600s, people in Europe and American colonies were making soap at home. In 1791, Nicolas Leblanc developed a scientific method for making soap using chemistry. And that made soap production easier and more widespread. So today, 50 billion year. Today, this global soap market is worth 50 billion a year. Now that's a lot of bubbles, right? Now, students, let's go to the whole science part. So what is soap really? Students, soap is a molecule, but a very special kind. Imagine a tadpole. You might have seen tadpole, है ना? So, a baby version of a frog. Now, imagine that the round head of a tadpole loves water. Okay? So, round head of a tadpole loves water, and we call it what? Hydrophilic. Hydrophilic because it loves water, water loving. But tail is different. It hates water and we call it hydrophobic. Okay, so tail is water fearing. We are calling it hydrophobic. Head is water loving. We are calling it hydrophilic. Understood? Now, this two-sided personality is what makes soap a superhero in cleaning. Okay, why? Because dirt and oil, they are tricky. They're quite tricky. Some parts of the dirt are hydrophilic, like dust or salt, which can wash away easily. But some parts, like oil or grease, are hydrophobic and they stick to your skin and they won't budge with just water. So here's where soap actually swoops in. So when you rub soap into your hands, the hydrophobic tail, as you can see, this is the hydrophobic tail. It grabs onto the oil and grease. And the stuff that water can't touch. Okay. Meanwhile, the hydrophilic head, it stays connected to the water. This is water, blue. And we have written it, right? तो ये जो हाइड्रोफिलिक head है, hydrophilic head, it is stay connected with the water, while the hydrophobic tail attaches itself to the oil particle. Okay, and this creates a tiny structure. This structure is called micelle. Right? It's a kind of bubble, as you can see, a bubble with dirt trapped inside. Then, when you rinse your hands, the whole micelle, dirt, and all, it all gets washed away. So it's actually what? A molecular science. So next time someone tells you to wash your hands with soap, you know why we are talking about it. And it's not just about being polite, it's about letting those soap molecules do their microscopic magic. Okay. Now, students, soap doesn't just clean dirt. It also fights germs. And that's what makes it essential in stopping the spread of diseases. So, our skin is actually home to billions of microorganisms. Okay. And many of them are harmless and some even protect us. Right? तो कुछ तो हमें प्रोटेक्ट करते हैं, right? But others, which are called pathogens, they can cause diseases. And they include bacteria, viruses, fungi, right? So most of these microorganisms have a protective layer called membrane. Okay, they have a protective layer called membrane, and it's like a bubble wrapping their insides. So soap, what they can do, they can break that membrane, especially for viruses. So when the membrane breaks, the microorganism dies or becomes inactive. And just like that, water washes it away. And that's why, students, washing your hands for at least 20 seconds, at least 20 seconds is so important. It gives soap time to find, surround, and destroy the bacteria. Okay? So think of it like a superhero mission. Soap scouts in, surrounds the enemy, traps them, and then rinse them away. Mission complete. Right? Now, there are also certain facts associated with soap. सबसे पहला तो क्या है कि antibacterial, now fancy name we are using, antibacterial soap is always better. Students, when it comes to soap, regular soap is just as effective when it is used properly. Second myth is you need hot water for soap to work. Well, soap works even with cold water. So it's the rubbing and rinsing that matters more. Third myth is foam doesn't mean more cleaning power. It just looks nice. Students, hand sanitizer is helpful when soap isn't available. But students, remember, soap is better at actually removing dirt. So if you have two options, sanitizer and soap and water, go with soap and water. Soap and water is best. Okay. And using soap regularly has actually saved millions of lives. In fact, proper hand washing is one of the simplest ways to prevent disease outbreaks from the flu to COVID-19. Even हिस्ट्री में जब एक्चुअली ये डिसाइड किया गया था, ये साइंटिस्ट को पता चला था कि बाय वॉशिंग आवर हैंड्स वी कैन एक्चुअली प्रिवेंट डिजीजेस, देन पीपल लाफ्ड एट देम. उन्होंने उनका मजाक बनाया था. So you see, just if we are cleaning our hands, if we are washing our hands properly, we can prevent many diseases from catching. Right? तो ये तो हो गया सोप के बारे में. Now let's go to the next article of the day. Now, have you ever heard of pulmonary hypertension or PH? Simply, no, of course not. Students, why we are discussing this article? First of all, today is World Pulmonary Hypertension Day. Okay, today is what? World Pulmonary Hypertension Day. Okay, so what exactly is this pulmonary hypertension? ये होता क्या है? Student, it's a rare disease that is caused by high blood pressure. Okay, so it's not in your arm like your regular BP check, but in the arteries, in the lungs, and in the arteries that go from your heart to your lungs. So here's what happens. Normally, the right side of the heart, it pumps oxygen. It actually pumps oxygen poor blood into the lungs to pick up fresh oxygen. But in PH, what happens? The arteries in the lungs become narrowed or blocked. So that means heart now has to work much harder to push the blood through. And over time, this can weaken the heart and even lead to what? Heart failure. So there are certain symptoms associated with PH, which includes fatigue, shortness of breath, swelling in the legs, bluish lips or fingers due to low oxygen. It's actually quite rare and it affects 50 to 5 to 50 people per million. But it's actually very serious. And here's something surprising. Women are more likely to be affected than men. Okay. So as compared to men, women are more likely to be affected. And also this article says that there are different kinds of pH mentioned. कुछ genetics से होता है, कुछ medication से होता है. Some are caused by diseases. So, in short, और भी ये चीज mention है कि there is no permanent cure yet. But with medication and early care, people can live longer and healthier lives. Right? So this is what mentioned in this article. All right. Now, why did we include this in a soap episode? Because just like hand washing protects body from infection, knowing about conditions like pH help protect us too. Why, how it's going to help us? Because awareness is key. Through awareness, early diagnosis and care, we can even prevent such kind of rare diseases. So, what can you do with all this information? सबसे पहले तो wash your hands regularly with soap, especially before eating, after sneezing, or even after touching dirty surfaces. Then understand the part of chemistry. We have also covered this, है ना? It consists of hydrophilic and hydrophobic part. And finally, what can we learn from today's episode? Learning and knowing about your body, how it help us stay healthy, and how it's going to help others as well. Most importantly, students, don't ignore small things. Okay, so like a bar of soap, it may be just one of humanity's biggest protectors. All right. So thanks for joining us today on this episode. If you enjoyed this session, don't forget to subscribe, share, and keep those hands and minds squeaky clean. Until next time, stay curious, stay safe, and wash your hands.